Hey guys, Windsor here, and welcome to the Groove Guru podcast. Today, I want to reflect on an article I wrote a few years ago called Binary Code and the Human Potential, and some implications of that, and how understanding of how we are creating our experience can help us navigate life more effectively with more love and clarity and help us get out of our own way. What prompted the article was an insight I had after talking with a friend who was an IT professional about what binary code is. And an analogy came to mind that relates to how our experience of life is created and impacts our life as a result. And when we have a deeper understanding of what our true nature is, we open to much more of our fullest potential individually and collectively. Here's an excerpt from the article. In computing and telecommunications, the smallest unit of any and all data in use can be described as a bit, which is represented by either a 0 or a 1. Each of these zeros and ones can be interpreted as simple either or logical values, such as no, yes, true, false, off, and on. And bits are strung together to create binary code, which encodes data for computer software, phone calls, and digital media, etc. And how this relates to humanity and its basic component bits, that is, human beings, is that all humans are alike in that they all think. And in any given moment, a human being is experiencing reality. They're either focused on the content of their personal thinking or ego, the ones, or they have a clear head with awareness of the present moment, the zeros. And the sum total of a human being's life experience between those ones and zeros is like the binary code of their destiny, which is always truly unique for each individual. And when we are focused on the ones of our thinking, our thought content, our perspective is limited and we're temporarily closed off to the infinite possibilities otherwise available to us, which always emerge from zero, the formless, energetic source of all life, all ideas, and also our peace of mind. And as we evolve to become more aware of where we're focused at any given time, that is to say, either on the ones or the zeros of thought, we can become aware that we are focusing, which dovetails with our natural switch from 1 to 0, from the form to the formless nature of human thought that can be described as pure presence, peace of mind, our innately blank canvas, and the here and now. And the more we look to this space that is deeper still, the more we open to the formless side of infinity, where all thoughts and ideas come from, including those that, when implemented, will contribute to the next phase of humanity's ongoing evolution, which we're all currently part of. Where is your focus now? Okay, let's reflect on that a bit and explore some cool possibility. The point I reflected on was that in computing, binary code represents the most basic data units, zeros and ones. And the first insight I had was that in any given moment, our attention can be on what we can say are two types of thought, the zeros or the ones of our thinking. And when our focus is on the ones of thought, we're focused on the content of our personal thinking, the ego, memories of the apparent past, thoughts of the apparent future. And when we focus on the ones extensively, that's what can create feelings of stress, worry, pressure. And all of that can get in the way and cloud our clarity. And we feel that. Conversely, when our focus is on the zeros of thought, we're living in the context of what we think, which at its core is our clear space of awareness where we naturally feel peaceful, tranquil, calm. And it's that space we're born into as babies before we learn to think. pure consciousness. And another term I like for that is the state of, or the space of, no thought. And it's always where we're at our clearest and open to new and fresh possibility. So, keeping it simple, from moment to moment, our experience oscillates like a wave between these two states, the zeros and the ones of our thought, the formless and the form, all of which shape our experience, which we feel. The next insight I had after letting that percolate for a while is that we can liken the idea of binary code to our feelings. And as a simple analogy, we could say there are only two feelings: love and the apparent absence of it. When we're focused on the zeros of our feelings, we're always focusing on the feeling of love, which is our fundamental state of clarity and peacefulness, which, as we think more and more on top of it, it gets clouded over by layers of thought, which we feel, which can create an apparent absence of love, which I'm going to call the ones of our feelings, which again have thoughts attached to them. Now, I call those other feelings, the ones, an apparent absence of love, because those thoughts and feelings can appear to obscure the love that we are at core, making it look like it's not there. And as I see it, that's an illusion, because our fundamental nature of clarity and love is always there, ready to be realized. And as soon as we wake up to our illusions of thought and see beyond them, that's when we naturally return to the space of wholeness and loving presence that we are, and access our true nature, where we're all at our clearest and best in the moment. As I see it, that pure state of love is who we really are, beneath all of the noise in our minds. And when we get in touch with that space more frequently and our minds get quiet, as love creates calmness, it transforms our experience and puts us back in touch with our original happiness and zest for life, our joie de vivre, which is always there, ready to be experienced right now, and is also the creative gateway from which we access our fullest creative potential. Now, there are some common misconceptions that appear to stop us waking up to love and appear to get in the way of accessing that deeper nature that we are. And the first is not realizing, or otherwise put, temporarily forgetting that it's there. As I see it, our deeper nature of love actually is right here and always available to access. And we can all relate to that, because we've all experienced moments of calm where we're fully present and in love with life, which is the space that we are realizing our innate, perfect mental health and well-being that guides us through life with simplicity, happiness, peacefulness, and fulfillment. And that same space of clarity, when we access that, is what is referred to being in the zone where things are flowing and we do what needs to be done with ease, guided by our natural instincts and intuition from pure presence. Yet, we're not always in that state, but we can access it more readily, and I'll explore that some more as we go on today. The other misunderstanding that can stop us waking up to our true nature of love and creativity and being more and more present is what I'll refer to as the outside in myth, which is that often looks like our experiences and feelings are coming from external circumstances and the situations in our life. And it can look like the economy, the government, our bank balance, various people, or other things in the world are why we feel what we feel. Now, what I'm inviting you to consider for yourself is that that's not actually true. For there are times that the situations and circumstances in their life are exactly the same, but our experience of them varies. For example, we could be reading the same book we've read before another time, listening to the same music, the same album or song we've already heard, watching the same movie we've seen before, driving to work the same way, or performing the same set of songs each night on a tour that we're doing, if you're a musician. And in different times, we experience the very same things very differently. We see things in the book that we didn't see the first time. We hear elements of the music we didn't hear before. We didn't like the movie the first time, but this time we quite enjoy it and are quite into it. One day we're annoyed about the traffic, it looks, and the next day we're on the exact same route and we're listening to a podcast and didn't even think about the traffic. And one night the set we played might have felt a bit samey, and the next night we were really into it and loved every moment. What's really key to realize here, and what I'm inviting you to see for yourself, is that our experience of life isn't actually coming from the circumstances or events and situations in their life, but from where our attention is and how we're creating our experience in the moment, which, when we wake up to that, brings us tremendous freedom, clarity, and much more ease and enjoyment of life. But there will be times where it doesn't seem that life works that way, and times that we don't see that, which physicist David Bohm once put beautifully. Thought creates our world and then says, I didn't do it. And I see that as one of those beliefs that's true. And also that we can all wake up to accessing more and more of our potential and see what's happening and being in that core state of love and peak performance and clarity, no matter what's happening in the external world. And as soon as we wake up to that nature of how our experience is being created, we realize the space of the infinite possibility available to us underneath all the misunderstanding that we create. And like particles all return to the same formless quantum field in physics, we can realize that space of our innate, unlimited, unbounded potential psychologically. That is the source of all our creative ability to generate our experience where we're freest, living from the heart, and have most unrestricted access to the full bandwidth of who we are, no matter what, which is not just a good idea, but something, as I see it, is very real, very available, and very practical. One of my all-time favourite quotes I find that really points clearly to the heart of how we create our experience is by Scottish mystic Sydney Banks from his book, The Missing Link, where he wrote, "Thought is not reality, yet it is through thought that our realities are created." In other words, whilst we live in a world where circumstances and situations and things actually exist, the only way we can experience any of that is via our perception, which, as I see it, is made possible by three principles. And first, and fundamentally, we're all powered by the source of life, which is evident because we're all alive, which we can describe as the principle of mind. And we're also all aware of being alive because we have an experience of life via the principle of consciousness. And we're also always thinking, generating thought content moment to moment, which at its heart is the creative ability we all have to form our perceptual experience of life via the principle of thought, which in its essence is actually beyond thought content and the content of any of our thinking. And whether we know it or not, these principles are constantly playing out in our life and shaping the experience that we have. And when we start to see to the truth of that much more clearly, life starts to just make much more sense. And the more we align ourselves with that which is true, not just at a belief imagined level, but at a deeper level of knowing, life becomes much simpler and we can realize much more of our potential to live the life we were innately designed to and evolve beyond what we've previously imagined. The greatest shifts we ever make in our life and in our experience come from when we see something new, insightfully from within, a thought of new possibility, perhaps in the form of a new idea out of the blue for something we can create in whatever area of our life it is, from our health to our friendships and relationships to our work and businesses and more of the preferred stuff that we want to create, and also way beyond that level. And it's the power of insight that led to the Wright brothers developing the first successful airplane, Carl Benz developing the first car, Alexander Graham Bell creating the first telephone, and Tim Berners-Lee inventing the World Wide Web, and pioneering musicians such as the Beatles, Louis Armstrong, Miles Davis, Jimi Hendrix, David Bowie, to name just some, creating innovations that changed the form of music as we know it, and expanding the boundaries of what came before to show what's possible when we tap into our innate source of creativity, which we all really have direct access to. Now, whilst it's unlikely that most people will create such significantly game-changing contributions to the world as those aforementioned pioneers, what we all have in common is that we're all made to create our experience of life in the very same way, via mind, consciousness, and thought. And we all have the built-in capacity for fresh insight that at its core is truly transformative when realized in itself. And in that space of our true nature, that's when we're directly guided by our wisdom, innate genius, and our intuitive knowing, which shows up as the next step to take, the next conversation to have, the words to say, and when it's best to be silent. It's also the space where we can be at home with not knowing for the moment, and always it's the space where our fresh and new ideas come through us readily. What you're probably starting to realize, and you probably have, and I'm sure you can see this if you reflect on what I'm saying, is that the form of our experience via thought is constantly changing, and not just our thoughts, but our feeling state. And another way of saying that is we're living in the feeling of our current state of mind in the moment. And I'm suggesting that that's all that's ever going on psychologically as we navigate our lives. We create our experience of everything the way that we're feeling. And that affects how we're seeing life in the moment, our level of clarity. And it can impact how we function and how we perform whatever we're doing. And because our state of mind is that feeling that we're living in, we can always recognize our state of mind by recognizing how we're feeling in the moment, which can be navigated in a way that leads us to living with much more ease and clarity and enjoyment and more. We're all designed in a way that it's so perfect. And as we experience the feeling of our moment to moment state of mind, we all have an inbuilt guidance system, much like the GPS in our vehicles points us to when we're off track and on track on our journey, and points us to recalibrate and course correct accordingly. And the key to accessing that inner GPS is simpler than we think. And again, that key is being aware of the feeling of the state of mind that we're experiencing in the moment. And when we're free and clear in our minds, we're in the moment and instinctive and better placed to be in the heart of the groove of life, the space of impersonal thought, of love, whatever we do. And our work's easier, more fun. We're naturally in that flow state and productive in what we're doing. And as we've touched on, our natural clarity of mind, it can get covered up by layers of thought and attached feelings, which not only temporarily fog up and hide our true nature and can get in the way of us being at our clearest, but often we can misattribute that experience as coming from the external world. And what most people do when they feel a way that they don't want to feel is try to change the world and then think that doing that and changing what they want will make them feel better from out there, which it can provide a temporary rush when doing that, but never lasting happiness and fulfillment. And they try to work themselves up into a state of motivation and create imaginary pressure to get things done. And that can be useful to a point to get started with things, but to live in that kind of stress ongoingly, it can lead to a lot of wear and tear and fatigue and burnout, which, let's just say, is less than ideal. And to come back to our clearest vantage point and regain natural perspective and live with more ease very naturally and effortlessly is available and happens as a result of when we wake up to and from that outside in misunderstanding and realize that our experience is created from the inside out. And when we tune into our feelings and recalibrate back into reality, it's like we do a control, alt, delete, and reset our mind to start fresh again in the moment where all of the juice of life is and our presence is, and things are much simpler. Here's the thing, and I want to keep this real and very relatable. Whilst we can explore these distinctions of being focused on personal thought, impersonal thought, or being in the pure feeling of love and deeper presence, or experiencing its apparent absence, all through the feeling of our state of mind in the moment, the fact is that we all have moods, emotional ups and downs, highs and lows, clarity, confusion, like waves of experience that naturally fluctuate. And we all go up and down like a wave every day. And when we're on a higher level, life looks great. Our thoughts are, cleaner and more positive. We're in love with life. And then when we go down to a lower level, which happens for everyone, life appears like it sucks sometimes. It's shit, or it's what we don't want, or it's when our thoughts appear dirtier, like more contaminated, yucky, negative, and we're not as clear. And what's key to remember is that our thoughts reflect the feeling that we're in. Our thoughts reflect the state of mind that we're in, because we always feel first and then we think on top of that. And whatever we feel, that's what frequency we're thinking in. And whatever we feel attracts what we think, because we always create everything from the way that we feel, from our state of mind in the moment, always from within us. When we're feeling happy, naturally we're thinking thoughts that are happy. They're attached to the feeling. And when we're lower and feeling blue, it's like everything looks blue through that filter. So it's always our state of mind that we're creating that creates our experience. And waking up to that, it's where we can find our psychological freedom and a way home to the true self, no matter what our experience is. And rather than, wishing for a life that we don't have ups and downs, that we only have highs, like I want the deluxe package where I don't get low moods. As I see it, that's pretty unrealistic. And whoever we are, we're always experiencing our state of mind in the moment. And there's no way out of that, no matter who we are. And we're always going to have those ups and downs. And with an understanding of how that's happening, we can live in a way that we visit our lows but don't live in them and prolong them, and allow our highs and more of our natural clarity to emerge without all of that unnecessary resistance that we can create. Another way to explore how we can navigate this experience that we have with more understanding and love and grace, and less of the unnecessary stress, tension, worry. A metaphor I like to use for how our experience is created is that the mind's like a movie projector. Like when we're watching a movie at the cinema or at home and the movie's projected onto the screen there, we are always projecting our state of mind. And what we see on the screen of our consciousness is what we are projecting. And that's our entire experience of life in the moment. And when there's no film in the projector, in a way, it's just a blank screen and there's no sound. Like when we are in bed when it's dark and there's nothing on our mind, we have this infinite void of peacefulness. And when there's film in the projector, we see those images on the screen and hear the related sounds. Like when we're in bed and it's dark and our projections come up, we experience them in full technicolor with all of the sounds and special effects attached to that and all of the feelings we attribute to that. So we are the projector and we project what we feel, and that appears on the screen of our consciousness, the screen of our mind. And it looks and feels real, but it's just a projection. And if we want to change that projection and change our experience, we have to change how we feel, and the projection will then change. And I'll get to that. Now, extending that metaphor a little bit, our mind's like a projector, and it also has a camera function that it can record what it sees, the images on screen. And as we move through life, it records our experiences and often brings them to mind in the moment. And it can bring up past memories, which we feel, and it can also project those images onto our apparent future. And they also feel very real too. But without awareness of what's happening and how our experience has been created via the principles in the moment, we can overlook that those thoughts are illusions and not actual reality. They're just a reflection of our state of mind in the moment, which is the feeling that we're in. And if we don't see that and think that the mind just works like a camera, we buy into the illusionary images as reality, and we tend to take them more seriously, which is where we get caught up and stuck in our thoughts and get in our own way. And when we see the fallacy of that and we wake up from that illusionary dream to realize that we are the dreamer projecting our dream on screen, and that that is how our experience is being created via thought, like a movie being projected at the cinema, we take it more in stride and we return to our true nature more readily, which is that blank canvas of love with awareness and understanding of what's actually happening in the moment. And as we realize the nature of that, we get out of our own way and are at our best and clearest and most effective in any situation. Now, going back to that inevitability that we're all going to have moods, we all have ups and downs, and when we're feeling up, we create feelings and thoughts that we enjoy and that reflect that feeling, and our thoughts tend to be clearer and less muddled. And when we're feeling low, we create thoughts that reflect that. That's the sucks feel. But when we're down, we can remember that at all times, like when we're watching a movie at the cinema or in front of our screens, we know that the movie on screen, it's just a movie and it's not reality. And that can take much of the fear of it away if it's a scary movie. And that can also go for the movies that are constantly playing out in our mind day to day. And when we wake up to that truth that our experience is always a projection of our mind, and that any projection can't hurt our deeper, unbreakable psychological nature, we tend to stop being so afraid of our experience, which is a huge shift for people. And when we experience that, life gets much simpler and we can start to navigate our life with much more common sense and wisdom in this moment. And again, it's all in the feeling we're experiencing. So feel love. And again, when our consciousness drops and we go into a low mood, rather than panic about that and try to get into that and force it and change our thinking and effort, which many people do, which just gets in the way and keeps them stuck and holds those thoughts and feelings in place, and is what traditional therapy is based on. When we realize that thoughts are an illusion and not reality, not true, it's like when we realize that the images on the screen at the movies are not reality, and we let go, relax, and feel love. We come back into the now, our mind quiets, and from that quiet mind, we feel better and tend to see more clearly and start to do better. And our state of mind naturally rises, and that naturally creates a more positive outlook and experience with virtually no effort. And the more we see that our illusions of self created thought are not reality, and we'll all still get caught up in that illusion from time to time, the more we can catch ourselves falling from the illusion faster and faster. And the quicker we wake up to the outside in fallacy, that our experiences aren't coming from the outside, the external world, the quicker we get out of our own way of feeling that apparent absence of love and allow our natural intelligence to come back through and get into our true nature, that is the I that is loving presence. And the quicker we start to get over things and be at our best more and more readily, no matter what. And the more we do that, the more gracefully we get over things ourselves, basically. And the issue that may have bothered us for years, months, weeks, or days starts to dissipate in the moment. And when similar issues present themselves, we can get over them much quicker. And instead of it taking years or months, it can take much less time, weeks, days, minutes, seconds. And we can instantly find ourselves back home in that perfect now, free and clear. As we round things up for today, what I again invite you to consider is that whatever we feel, our feelings aren't telling us about the world out there, but they're reflecting how thought is playing out in the moment. And when we wake up to the fact of that we are the ones creating our experience, we realize that we are the projector, that we are projecting with our feelings and thought. And if we want to change the projection, we have to change the feeling, which is effortless when we feel love. And it's when we feel love, that's when we project what we want. Now, as we go about our lives, there will be times when our mind will be busier, where we're more focused on the ones of our thinking, the personal mind, and it's noisier up there. And there'll be times when our mind will be quieter, when we're focused on the zeros of our thinking, the impersonal mind. And instead of focusing and trying to quiet our mind, or forcing our mind to get quiet when it gets stormy, which doesn't work, what I suggest is that we can allow it to flow. And as we allow our mind to naturally flow and open to what wants to come through, it will naturally settle if it's stormy, like a snow globe does when it's left alone. And as our mind quiets, we open up to that deeper wisdom, which is in that space that we insightfully know what to do and not to do on a deeper level of knowing. Now, with all of this, I'm not in any way inferring to just be passive and move away from circumstances and not do anything in the world. For it's a guaranteed way for our world to get smaller. what I'm pointing to is more about moving away from the experiences we create of unnecessary stress, distraction, tension, to living from a much clearer perspective with more attentive presence, ease, and natural creativity, whatever we're doing, which allows us to create what we want with greater focus and clarity. And openness to our true creative nature within is always the direction to look towards for our personal and our collective evolution. And when we allow our natural intelligence to shine, we contribute to the evolution of humanity, starting with ourselves, right here, right now. Finishing up this episode, when we understand the binary nature of our thoughts and feelings as we dance and fluctuate between personal thinking and pure awareness, we can navigate our experience much more effectively. And realizing the inside out nature of life is what uncovers our true potential and allows us to live with more love and presence, whatever we do. And the space of love, again, is where you're at your freest and clearest and most enjoying life. And it's the zone where the answer to any problem is beyond your current thinking in the pure unknown. And you can understand that your feelings are always a reliable guide to pointing you back to that space. And the last point I want to make is that you can feel love and be happy no matter what. And for a taste of that now, if you're in a position to do so, and don't do this if you're driving, close your eyes for the moment and notice whatever waves of thought and feeling are happening and showing up. Feel the calm that's there under the waves, under the noise. That calm is the heart of who you are. Sit with it for a moment. Now, open your eyes. Notice the freshness of presence in your life right here. And go live and enjoy it. And as you go about your day, if things get busy or stormy, take a moment to return to the present and feel that love. Trust that your innate wisdom will guide you, and embrace that creative potential that comes from a clear and present mind. So, feel love, have fun living from the heart, and create what you want. And I'll talk with you soon.